Hello and welcome to the KPI Institute's webinar, Understanding the Role of Performance Management and Measurement Tools. My name is Andrei Kostia, and I will be your host for today, along with our presenter, Adrian Brudan. This webinar is part of a series of free educational materials that aim to enhance the knowledge and know-how of those interested, while also creating a bridge between us as a company and you, our public. The KPI Institute is a research organization specialized in business performance. It operates research programs in 12 practice domains, each linked to a certification course, ranging from strategy and KPIs to employee performance, and from customer service to innovation performance. Today, 15 years after the KPI Institute was created, we can proudly say that our products and services have reached professionals on 5 continents, and that our public comprises a worldwide community of over 100,000 members online and 30,000 registered companies on smartkpis.com. Today's webinar is the first webinar of a 5-webinar series through which we aim to tackle some of the challenges related to performance management and measurement tools and set the blueprint of what it means to design a solid performance measurement and management architecture. This presentation will be delivered by Adrian Brudan, General Manager of the KPI Institute EMEA region and the overseeing manager of the Global Performance Audit Unit, GPA unit, the Strategy and Performance Audit Division of the KPI Institute. Adrian is an expert researcher, consultant, and practitioner with over 10 years of experience in the deployment and implementation of performance management frameworks. This presentation lasts approximately 30 to 40 minutes. Please feel free to ask any questions you might have during the presentation, as they will be answered at the end in our Q&A session. Enjoy the KPI Institute's webinar, Understanding the Role of Performance Management and Measurement Tools. Now, I would like to invite Adrian to begin his presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrei, for the introductions. You bought some time for our registered participants to join in. We are 53, 54, and the numbers are increasing. So welcome to the first webinar from the May series delivered by me. The title of the webinar, Understanding Performance Management and Measurement Tools. What is the idea with this series? Is just to provide you a few insights in terms of how you can cope with challenges of working with performance management and measurement tools, and as part of this, how to tackle with the key components of performance management, which is pretty much about objectives, KPIs, and initiatives. So we'll get there in the next webinars, but for the moment, we'll start today with an overall view perspective on performance management and measurement. Andrei already made the introductions regarding the KPI Institute, so I will try to be very short on this. Basically, we are a research-based organization delivering audit, consultancy, and training services in the field of strategy and performance management. But through our holding companies, we try to tackle other areas as well, or related to one keyword, and this is performance. We are based in Melbourne, Australia, and we operate also from Kuala Lumpur, Dubai, and Europe. Currently, I'm locked, if you want so, in Europe. I'm actually in Romania now. Just to give you some insights, the weather now, it's chilly and it's raining. So it's just a perfect time, I guess, to be here with you and to discuss a few things about performance management. Good. Now, yes, now because the time is short, we'll just move on directly and tackle with what we want to discuss. And the first thing I want to clarify for you is the difference between performance management and measurement. Why? Because there are a lot of professionals, even academics, that are using these two terms interchange. Well, in the last 30 years, I have to acknowledge the fact that performance management developed as a discipline, and it's pretty much acting as an umbrella for everything that relates to managing performance, from strategy planning up to its execution, pretty much. while measurement is just an important subcomponent of the performance management field, which allows us to identify, track, and communicate KPI results. Uh, as you all know, we are using all sorts of tools in the field of we are working on and in relation with managing strategy and performance in our organizations. And what you have here in this slide is a list of tools we used popularly in organization in an alphabetic and listed in an alphabetical order. Yes, we have budgets, we have communications, we have dashboards, we have forums, we have goals, we have KPIs, objectives, projects, scorecards, dashboards, targets, and so on. But are we using them in an integrated way? Well, that's pretty much the main challenge most of the organizations are facing today. It's not a matter of not having them in place. As per the feedback received from participants to my training and consultancy projects, pretty much 80–90% of these tools are used in a way or another as part of organizational settings. However, the challenge is how to use them in an integrated way. So performance management overall is not about reinventing the wheel, it's not about trying to reinvent the tools, but it's a matter of having a better structure, alignment, integration, and use of what is already in place. That will be the challenge and also the answer that we have to cope with. Now, what you can see here, as probably most of you figure it out already, it's a meat mincing machine, yes, or the components of this meat mincing machine. This is the grandma's tool. Yes, we do not have these ones any longer. We have the electrical ones. However, they are, as we can see here, it's a system of multiple components. And the question will be, what can happen when these components of the system are not assembled in the right sequence, or if something is missing, or if something is not very well tied together? Well, the answer is quite straightforward. Pretty much we can enter into three scenarios if we also extrapolate to an organizational setting. First of all, you can put a lot of effort and nothing will come out of it. Yes, that's one of the scenarios. Scenario number two is you'll put a lot of effort, but with limited results. And scenario number three is when you'll put a lot of effort, you'll get the results, but actually what you cannot acknowledge when you do not have a proper integrated performance management system in place, when you do not measure it in a proper way, is the fact that actually you can achieve the same results with less effort. So performance management is not only for organizations that are bad performers or poor performance, or they have limited results. Performance management is essential for any given organization as long as the key word for them is improvement, performance improvement. And hence the importance of having and developing such strategy and performance management system and put them in place. Now, when we are trying to do this, we are facing, or when we start to do this, we are facing a critical challenge. The fact that because of the fact that performance management is not a standardized field of practice, and it's quite a young field of practice or a discipline. It started to emerge maybe less than 35 years ago, and in this field 35 years of research to create a field of practice is not necessarily something significant, considering the developments that are happening all the time. Well, we have a lot of inconsistencies, and we are suffering from lack of standardization and lack of proper understanding of the role of performance management tools and how to use them as part of developing such systems, as well as creating a common language which will in the end facilitate better buy-in, better accountability, and improved performance, isn't it? Yeah. So one thing that organizations have to clarify first, and that comes as a important recommendation from my side is, first of all, to align to the main terminology and language they are using as part of developing such performance management architectures, as I like to call them. So what you have here on the screen, there are pretty much two lists, one with tools and one with the description of these tools. Now, what we have a set of 13 tools, the most popular, if you want, that are used in the field of strategy and performance to develop the blueprint of any given performance management architecture. And they are listed in alphabetical order, as you can see, starting from goal, KPI, initiative / project, metric, milestone, mission, programs, objectives, targets, tasks, value drivers, value statements, which are organizational values, of course, and vision statement or vision. Now, on the other hand, you have pretty much the descriptions of these tools, and our task now will be to pretty much match the tools with the right or correct description. This is what we'll intend to do next. Now, how we are going to do it? Well, I will try to have sort of say a dynamic way of doing it, even if we cannot chat freely. However, we can write in the chat. We cannot speak freely, we can write in the chat. And I would like to have your support to see how we can match this description with the tools that they are describing or they are exemplifying. And in this way, let's try to learn a little bit what these tools mean, what is the difference between them, such as what is the difference between a KPI and a metric, what is the difference between a program and a project or initiative, what is the difference between a value and a value driver. It's critical to understand these differences and to understand the role of these tools if you really want to put together an insightful, a relevant performance management architecture and to communicate it in a proper way. And yes, Karim already took the advantage of using the chat and started to mention what 80% means. Just to give me a moment and we'll just move on in 1 second, because I want to share with you another screen. This will allow us to have pretty much a more insightful way of doing this exercise together. Yeah. So let me just stop sharing and let me reshare another screen for you. So we'll have a better perspective into this one. Good. So let's see. This will be the one. And here we go. So I think that everyone can see my my screen, the Excel file. Please confirm that to me. Yeah. So we have now in the Excel file the list of tools and the descriptions. And let's see. And let's see how it works. Yeah, thank you very much. I think that everyone can we have our. Do you agree it is a target, as Karim is mentioning? Yes, it is. Yeah, because targets are the desired levels we want to achieve in relation with a KPI all the time, and targets are all the time numerical. Why? Because targets are associated with metrics in order to provide us KPIs pretty much. And therefore, a metric is something we can measure. This means that all the time the targets should reflect a number, a desired level we want to achieve in relation with what we measure. So targets all the time will be numerical. Yes, so if we have a customer satisfaction and it's 40% now, we can aim to achieve an 80% customer satisfaction. Or if our employee engagement is 45%, we are aiming to achieve 60% employee engagement in the next year. And if the profit rate is 10%, we try to improve it to 50% in the upcoming period of time. Good. Just to give you some examples. Let's move forward a little bit. What about the number of employees? What do you think it is? It is a metric, isn't it? Yes, and in most of the cases, number of employees is and will remain a metric. It's something we can measure, and that's the pretty much straightforward definition of a metric. It's something we can measure. By the way, metric comes from the Greek word metron, which means to measure. So number of employees is a popular example of something we can measure, and therefore it is a metric, or an example of a metric. What about percentage customer satisfaction? Well, it's a popular example of a KPI, isn't it? Indeed, as you are mentioning, it's a popular example of a KPI. What is the difference between metrics and KPIs? Well, metrics or a metric is something we can measure. A KPI is something we can measure reflecting performance. So it reflects performance. This means that it has to have a target attached, because the target reflects the desired level of results we want to achieve. So by attaching a target to a metric that we select, this will make from that metric a KPI. Of course, we will need to know more than just these two components in order to manage that KPI, such as the definition, the calculation, the limitations, the targets, the thresholds, and many other things. But overall, in simple words, a KPI is a metric reflecting performance, or a metric with a target attached. Yeah. So customer satisfaction is a popular example of a metric. Now, if you want to a little bit play with the words, you can think of the following. All metrics are KPIs or can become KPIs. Not all KPIs, all KPIs are metrics. Not all metrics will become KPIs. Yeah, and that's from a very simple reason. Yes, because we are not going to take all the metric in this word and select them as our KPIs and establish targets and try to measure them. And that's one of the critical challenges organizations are facing: how to select relevant KPIs. Yes. So this means from the millions of things that we can measure, the idea is to select those metrics that provides us hopefully with some insights for a better decision making, attach a target to reflect the desired level that we want to achieve, so the improvement, and try, of course, to connect with them the initiatives, the projects, and everything that is required in order to move from where we are to where we want to be and achieve our target. Good. So all KPIs are metrics. Not all metrics in the end will be selected and will become KPIs. To finalize this, for example, number of employees. It's mostly used as a metric, but nowadays, because of this COVID crisis across the globe, it started to become a KPI. Yes. Why? Because people are starting, in most of the cases, unfortunately, to downsize their organization. So they want to move from 1,000 employees to 500 employees, which means that for a certain period of time, number of KPIs with a target attached, it's becoming a critical KPIs for many organizations across the globe. Once the situation will be stabilized, it will be used as a simple metric without any sort of a target. And then when the uptrend will come again and you need to hire again, probably it will become an important KPI again. But that's for specific periods of time. In most of the cases, it will become a simple and will remain a simple metric. Let's move forward because the time is very crude with us. Customer Service Development Program. What do you think it is? As the name, yes, a program. What is a program? A program is a clustering tool of several projects that are aiming the same direction. Yes, so that's pretty much how we can relate to a program. If instead of having maybe tens of even more projects, initiatives floating around, you'll try to group them under the same umbrella. A program have a start date, but not necessarily an end date. Compared with a project or an initiative which has a start date, an end date, but also specific outputs that will be generated as part of it. Yeah, so that will be the difference. So if customer service development program, it's a program. Which one will be the project? Let's try to look a little bit in this way. So from the list, the remaining list, if customer service development program, it's a program, which one will be the initiative or the project from the examples? What do you think? No one? Well, definitely customer service training. Yeah, indeed. That's an example of a project: customer service training, fleet modernization, customer satisfaction survey deployment, ERP system implementation. These are just examples of projects or initiatives. Yeah, so that will be the project and initiative. Good. So now we have the program, and as part of this program, one of the initiatives can be to train the customer service. Another initiative can be CRM, customer relationship management system implementation. Another initiative under this program can be customer service offices deployment or opening. So these are few projects that can be grouped under the umbrella of the customer service development program. What about complete 50% of the trainings by 30th of June? Milestone, yes. What is a milestone? A milestone is a main stage within a project. A project can have multiple milestones. Like by 30th of June, complete 50% of the training. By September, complete 70% of the training. By end of the year, complete all the training that was scheduled. So pretty much it reflects one stage within a project. If this is a milestone, it's of course a little bit confusing. It looks a little bit like an objective because it starts with an action verb. So these are things that have to be tackled, and will be tackled in the next episode on a Thursday, when we'll go into the details talking about objectives, KPIs, and initiatives. But until then, let's have a broader umbrella perspective of all these tools and their role. What about identify key competencies to improve for customer service representatives? It's very granular. Yes, it's still an activity, but it's granular. And that's pretty much the definition of a task. It's the most granular activity within a project. Multiple tasks can be grouped in a stage. Multiple stages will provide you with the structure of a project. Multiple projects can be grouped into a program. So that's a simple, clear example of a task. Thank you very much. Moving forward, let's see what about integrity? What do you think it reflects? Some say values, some say value driver. You see, that's where the confusion appears, because in many organizational identities where you have vision, mission, values, these are components that pretty much all organizations have. Even if you do not have a very detailed strategic plan, at least you'll have these mission, vision, values. And then in the list of values, you'll have all sorts of things that they are not all of them values actually. Hence the confusion. Why? Because values are beliefs influencing behavior. This is the definition of a value. It's a belief influencing behavior, such as honesty, such as friendship, such as sincerity, such as transparency, maybe such as leadership. So beliefs influencing behaviors. And these beliefs influencing behaviors, the values of the organization, you'll find them in a performance management architecture translated at individual level in the behavioral framework, which pretty much many times is rated on a scale from 1 to 5. It's something subjective, and from here the story of why don't we have some KPIs also at individual level in order to counterbalance this subjectivity from rating and evaluated behaviors and competencies. But that's another story for a different day. So integrity is a value, yes. What about the value driver? Which will be the value driver if integrity is the value? What are value drivers, first of all? Are characteristics of our organizations that allow us to understand how we can create value for our stakeholders. What means competitive advantage? What are the things that define our business? And indeed, quality is such an example, because if quality is a value driver, this means that we need to improve the quality of our services. If innovation is another value driver, we need to enhance creativity and innovation. If speed is a value driver, we need to optimize service delivery. If cost efficiency is a value driver, we need to optimize cost structures. If profitability is a value driver, we need to maximize profitability, and so on. So quality, innovation, speed, customer centricity, cost reduction, profitability, knowledge are examples of value drivers, characteristics that define your operations, things that you need to focus on. And to give you here a nice tip, is very relevant and recommended when you want to translate a high-level strategy into objectives, to first define the value drivers, and then easily you can translate a high-level strategy into specific objectives just by following these value drivers mapping, as I've mentioned to you just a few moments ago through several examples. So quality is a value driver. Good. So let's move forward. What about increase customer satisfaction? Objective, guys. What is an objective? It's a specific translation of your strategy on a one-year basis, pretty much. Of course, you can keep the same objective for multiple years, but it's a specific translation of your strategy on a one-year basis. And all the time, it reflects what you do in terms of how you've planned. So all the time, the objectives will start with an action verb: increase, maintain, sustain, decrease, restructure, enhance, ensure, and name it. Yes, all the time, objectives will start with an action verb, and they reflect what you do in terms of what you plan. And increase customer satisfaction, it's one of the most popular examples of objectives that we have in place. What about growth for the business? Goal. Yeah, and here is where people are sort of say understanding between goals and objectives. Yes, so a goal is not an objective, a goal is not a target. A goal is a high-level translation of your strategy. Yes, it's a strategic direction, it's a strategic theme, if you want other synonyms for a goal. So grow for the business. How you grow the business? Well, by improving employee skills and competencies and providing them with a good working environment, you'll be able to enhance quality of services delivered and to optimize service delivery, which in turn would allow you to optimize or increase customer satisfaction, increase also or enhance the market share together with it, because more clients will come to you, which will allow you to maximize profitability and overall grow the business. So grow for the business, or a goal, it's an umbrella, or acts as an umbrella for several objectives which are aiming the same direction. So instead of having the objectives floating around, you can group them into 2, 3, 4 or more goals or strategic directions. This depends on how complex your strategy is. Generally, organizations go with 2 or 3 such clusterings, but more complex organizations might have more than just 2 or 3 strategic teams. I saw organizations with 5, 6, maybe. But it's another way of visualizing objectives, pretty much. You can live without goals. You cannot live without objectives, because objectives allows you to understand how then you can measure and how you can act. Yes. So grow for the business. It's a goal, which pretty much is a clustering tool for several objectives aiming the same direction. Last 2 components, to be the world's leading company. Where you want to be. Answering the question where you want to be gives you the vision. Where you want to be. Number 1, the best in the world, among the first 5, or whatever is your vision. So where you want to be. And of course, last but not least, why do we exist? What is the purpose of our existence? This will give you the mission. Yeah. Where you want to be, what is your desire level, vision, why do you exist? That's your mission. So pretty much this is how you play with and you understand the use of these tools. Now, what we've did here, we've looked a little bit in isolation. Of course, we've tried to distinguish between the difference of what is a metric, what is a KPI, the difference between a value and value drivers, the difference between projects and programs, the difference between vision and mission, and so on. But at this point, we do not have an integrated view on how these tools are used pretty much in practice as part of developing a performance management architecture. And this is what I will try to do for the last 10 minutes of our presentation. It's already 2:30, but we'll try to, of course, make it until we finalize this. So for another at least 10 more minutes. And we'll try to do it together. Yeah. So therefore, I've moved to a different tab now, and we'll try to figure out here how we can make sense of all these components that we've discussed about here. Yes, the target, metric, KPIs, programs, and so on. Yeah, I can even copy them here, maybe, and then we'll try to see how we can make sense of them. Good. Okay, actually, I didn't want to do that. Let me just see. I can maybe decrease a little bit the fonts and put them here. Okay. Okay, and I think that now it should work. Good, great. So we have the list now here. So let's see, we start from the strategy, isn't it? All the time we need to start from strategy. High-level translation of the strategy generally are defined on a 3 to 5 year basis, these strategies. Yeah. If we look at Saudi Arabia, I think that we have a lot of participants from Saudi Arabia. We have the Vision 2030, but we have 5-year cycles for this Vision 2023, 27, and so on. So strategy, it's about what? It's about planning all the time. Yeah. So strategy, it's about planning. And how we define it? Well, through just what we've discussed about vision. Sorry. We have them, all of these now. Vision, mission, and values. Yes, so this will be some of the major components of the organizational identity: vision, mission, values. Yeah, and if it is to develop a tool in which we can visualize all this, well, this will be a strategic plan, and of course, slash desired state of evolution. Desired state of evolution. Good. Let me just try to decrease the fonts so we can see here. Perfect. Good. So we need to have a tool. Generally, we have a strategic plan. In many organizations, these plans are maybe tens of pages, hundreds of pages. However, it's also important to have one page, which is pretty much structuring everything, so it can be better communicated. I will make it clear. Yes. So strategy. That's the starting point when you develop a performance management system. And the main components that we've discussed about and where they integrate is in the strategy: vision, mission, values, of course, other components. How you visualize it? Well, you have a strategic planning document, which can be multiple pages, or you can have just a few pages reflecting this strategy, or even one page reflecting this strategy. Why? Because one page can be easily communicated in multiple pages. So such a tool is this one, desired state of evolution. I will show you the slides at the very end. Probably there it's more enhanced. Here I'm using just the Excel, just for an easy way of moving between the slides. So strategy is about being communicated. If you do not communicate strategy, people will not understand it, will not relate to it, you will not have the buy-in, you will not be able to create a culture of performance. So you need to communicate. You cannot communicate tens of pages or hundreds of pages also from security reasons. So you need to put the essence of the strategy ideally in a 1-2-pager document, which can be easily communicated so people can relate to it. That's the strategic plan summary, or how we call it the desired state of evolution, where you have the main components of a strategy. So that's the strategy. It's about planning. Strategy are high level. Now, how we can translate it in something more specific, more doable on a 1-year basis. So how we can translate the strategy? Through what we translate a strategy, basically. Anyone? Well, of course, we are going to translate it through objectives. Objectives generally are defined on a 1-year basis, and they are a specific translation of your strategy. And objective, it's about doing what you have planned all the time. That's why they start with an action verb: improve, ensure, expand, multiply, restructure, and so on. What stands at the root of these objectives? Well, first of all, we can group the objectives into goals. Yes, into strategic directions, if we want so. On the other hand, what allows us to understand and to create these objectives in a very relevant way, and that's of course is coming as a recommendation, will be the value drivers. So the idea is to identify those characteristics of your business, and then of course to translate through them your strategy. Quality, innovation, speed, customer centricity, and so on will be transformed into your set of the objectives defining the strategy. Improve the quality of services, enhance customer satisfaction, maximize profitability, improve employee skills and competencies, and so on. How we visualize the objectives? Well, in a performance management architecture, the objectives will be visualized through the use of a strategy map, pretty much. That's considered pretty much the most popular strategy communication tool at the global level. Yeah, the strategy map. Good. So one pager again. One pager, one document, one pager reflecting the objectives of your strategy at different levels. Can be organization level, but can be departmental level or other levels pretty much. So you can group them, you can cluster them, and of course you can visualize them also as part of strategic directions or goals. So these two larger perspectives are the goals, in which you can group objectives that are aiming that specific direction reflected through the goal. Good. So we have now the objectives. The strategy is translated through objectives. But how can we make sure that we are achieving, that we are doing the right thing? Well, we need to come indeed with the KPIs in place, because through the KPIs, pretty much what we do is check. We are checking how we are doing in terms of what we have planned, isn't it? That's what we are doing. And what stands at the root of developing a KPI? Well, a KPI, it's a measurable expression. So we have a metric. And to this metric, we are doing what? We are attaching a target, a desired level we want to achieve in relation with that metric, and hence we are going to end up with some KPIs. Of course, other components have to also be identified for these KPIs, but that's the basics. Metric plus KPI plus targets, you'll get your KPIs. Those metrics reflecting performance, in other words. Good. And how we visualize this? KPIs. Well, we visualize them through, scorecards, and through dashboards. Yeah, we'll visualize them through scorecards or through dashboards. These are again the most popular visualization tools, consolidation tools for objectives and for KPIs. What is the difference between scorecards and dashboards? Well, in the scorecards, we have the KPIs coupled with objectives, so it's the strategic component of the system. In the dashboard, we have other metrics or subordinate measures of the main KPIs in the scorecard that we want to keep an eye on. Yeah. So mainly a scorecard has the objectives and the KPIs as a strategic tool. The dashboard is more of an operational tool, where KPIs are not grouped by objectives, but they are grouped by processes, by functionalities, by areas we need to focus on. And here we have an example of a scorecard and also of a dashboard. Yes, dashboard is pretty much more visual than a scorecard. In a scorecard, you'll be able, if I'm increasing the funds, to see the details. So you have the objectives and the KPIs under each objective, and then of course different components for each of these KPIs. The dashboard is much more visual and allows you to take operational decisions, isn't it? Without wasting your time. Today you look into one process, tomorrow in another. In the morning you look into some KPIs, in the afternoon you look into other KPIs. So that's pretty much for operational decision making, where scorecard is for strategic decision making when you are checking what you are doing. Yes, a scorecard is reviewed once a month, once a quarter. A dashboard, whenever it's required, you look into the KPIs or metrics that are required to look into pretty much. And the dashboard, it's a complementary tool, it's a supporting tool for a scorecard in most of the cases. Look at it like if you want, look at it like with a car. Yes, we have the example of a car. The GPS is the scorecard. It shows you the direction. You move from point A to point B, and you have, while driving the car and trying to reach your destination, point B, of course, you'll do all sorts of operations. Yes, you will brake the car, you'll accelerate the car, you will look into the fuel, you look into the oil pressure, look into the tire pressure to make sure that your car is functional. You keep it and you keep it on the right direction, so you'll reach your destination. So that will be, if you want, the difference between a scorecard and a dashboard. But overall, yes, they are main visualization tools for the KPIs. So we have the KPIs. We know now how to check in terms of what we are doing, so we can achieve our plan. But how can we achieve these KPI targets? How we can make sure that from 40% we move on to 80%, from 1 million to 2 million, from, I don't know, 50 incidents to 30 incidents? Yes, we need to act. And this is done through the use of initiatives/projects. Yes, so we need to act. And how we visualize all these initiatives? Well, we have the portfolio of initiatives in which we are going to centralize all these projects connected with the KPIs and the objectives of the entity we are trying to relate to. Yeah, and when it comes to the main components, yes, of the acting part, so we have programs, which are grouping multiple projects, and then we have, for each project, we have milestones and tasks. Yeah, so that's pretty much a way to relate to these components. I will try to minimize them so we can see it. Good. So how we visualize this? Well, same in one-page tool, same as it happened with scorecards, dashboards, and strategy maps. But here the difference is that we have the same objectives, same as within the scorecard, but we do not have the KPIs any longer. We have the initiatives connected with those KPIs. Yeah. Why? Because for initiatives, we need to have another set of information compared with the KPIs. For KPIs, we need to know what? We need to know start date, we need to know previous results, current result, target, frequency, these sort of things. For initiatives, we need to know start date, end date, budget, percentage of adherence to budget, adherence to schedule, risk associated with the initiative achievement, owner of the initiative, and so on. Yeah. But overall, we've ended up with what? First of all, we've translated the strategy through objectives measured with KPIs and acted through initiatives. Yeah. And we ended up with the PDCA cycle, or with the plan, do, check, act, the Deming cycle. Yes. which is common sense. We need to plan, we need to do what we've planned, we need to check how we are doing, and we need to act in accordance. So overall, the KPIs, as you can see, are tools that pretty much make the connection between the objectives and initiatives, allowing us to understand the impact of initiatives in terms of achieving our objectives and strategy through, of course, meeting the KPI target, which gives us the dimension, the desired level of results. Yeah, how we move from 40 to 80, from 1 to 2 million, from 3 to 300, and so on, customers. Objectives with KPI scorecard, objectives with initiatives, portfolio of initiatives, objectives as standalone element strategy maps. Overall, all these components, strategic plan, strategy map, scorecards and dashboards, portfolio of initiatives are the main components of a performance management system. Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, good. And I think that actually here was the other way around. So this is what I want to reflect about this, and I will turn back to the slides for the last part of the presentation. And on the slides, we have pretty much reflected what we have discussed so far. Yes, so the performance management architecture with the main pillars of the strategy map, scorecard and dashboard, and portfolio of initiatives, objectives, KPIs, and initiatives. These are the core tools that we are going to discuss in more details in the next session on Thursday, 7th of May. And you have an exemplification of these tools and also how they are used in practice. This is from one of the organizations in the Middle East. You see they've even make the shape of a boat to reflect the culture. And that's the strategy in one page. Why? Because strategies are easier to be communicated in this format than when you have hundreds of pages, isn't it? And then there's a strategy map, and with an example again from another organization in the region. So they can take different shapes and forms, and I'm pretty sure you know about this because many of you might already have such tools. The scorecards, this is a template developed by the KPI Institute, and these templates are provided as part of our programs, certified programs, balanced scorecard, KPI, performance management, and so on in editable formats. Very important. And overall, you have the pretty much reflection of the structure that we've discussed together: plan, do, check, act, strategy, objectives, KPIs, initiatives, desired state, strategy maps, scorecard and dashboards, portfolio of initiatives. That's something very simple, very clear, and easy to follow. And that's the concept that all the time you need to have in your head when you develop performance management architectures. Do not forget to end with the acting part, because that's critical. Many organizations are stopping here, having some objectives and KPIs, but then nothing is happening. You have KPIs just to understand how you can take better decision. What is the impact of your initiatives on achieving your objectives and hence your strategy? That's pretty much the role of your KPIs. If these KPIs will not provide you with such sort of information, they are useless. So you'll better try to rephrase or get rid of them, because they will not provide you with any sort of value in this case. And pretty much this is what I want to present to you. So in the end, it was not 30 or 40, it was 45 minutes, but I hope that were 45 minutes beneficial for you. Do not forget that all this information is actually available as part of our certification programs. And before taking the questions, please allow me just in very short to provide you with some recommendations regarding the programs that we facilitate, and in which, of course, you can go into much more details regarding these tools. And in the meantime, you can also start to type the questions that I will try to answer in a few moments. So first of all, we've moved everything live online due to the pandemic, and we are going to stay live online probably in the future, even if we are going to get back at some point to some on-site programs delivery. But overall, we have 12 big certifications, if you want, all connected to one word performance that we provide. And we try to make a special pricing in terms of this, because you are participants to my webinar. You are part of my networks. If you are interested, you can reply to my follow-up email to this webinar, and you can ask to join one of these programs, and I will make sure to provide you a special rate for this case, so less than what you can see here, for the purpose that you've already been part of our programs and our webinars. So that's something that I can do for you. Also, if you are interested to take more of these programs, it's much more relevant to go with our membership. It's a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity for professionals if you want. It's a unique product or service if you want at the global level. We offer all these 12 certifications until the end of the year as part of a membership for people that want to access such a membership. And of course, it comes with the certification process, with everything. And also it will give you access to our entire library of resources, hence a huge value that it's comprised into a much better pricing, meant for this specific time. So maybe you might have funding from the company, though it's not so easy these days. Maybe you have some savings that you might want to invest in your professional development. Well, you can definitely do that. Yeah. As upcoming programs, tomorrow we'll start the Balance Scorecard and the OKRs Professionals. You can still subscribe today to these programs, but it needs to be done until the end of the day. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll have the KPI Professional, which is pretty much what we've discussed will be presented there, but in much more details, of course, in a couple of weeks, and then in June again. So these are some of the following programs. But overall, that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you, to know about these certifications, and you are most than welcome to join them, of course, whenever you feel like. Yeah. So thank you very much for your time and for your insights, and for your patience to listen to me.
The KPI Institute appreciates your interest in the webinar Understanding the Role of Performance Management and Measurement Tools. Follow our websites and our social media channels to find out more details about our next webinars when they get posted. Also, if you are interested in getting a certification granted by the KPI Institute on vital areas within the performance management discipline, you can explore our scheduled courses on marketplace.kpiinstitute.org. Thank you once again for your participation. We wish you the best of performance and have a nice day.